Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So those of you who have the May issue, the April issue in your hand, you will see the book of the month right there, and it's The American Spiritual Warrior. And it's quite a book, and we love the authors who write our books, but this one especially really piqued my interest because I don't think we've had another rabbi who's written a book like this. So I'm welcoming our rabbi, who is Rabbi Yosef Aryeh Grodsky, and he wrote Spiritual Warrior. Welcome to our show, Rabbi.
Thank you. If I may add, American Spiritual Warrior.
What did I say?
You said Spiritual Warrior.
Oh, well, of course, American Spiritual Warrior. Well, you know,
yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited to have you on. I know it's
Thank
American
you.
Spiritual Warrior. And also on the front cover, you'll see an eagle flying, and it's called The Extraordinary Self-Realization Journey of an Ordinary Guy and 4 Keys to Spiritual Enlightenment. Wow, lots in this book. Very powerful book, Rabbi.
Thank you so much.
So when you finished the book, and did you take a big sigh of relief?
Well, writing the book, the initial draft was rather easy, but after that came 6 or 7 years of work and editing and re-editing and refining and adding and subtracting. And then, if I can share a little story with you.
Please.
I was in Barnes & Noble one day, and I saw this book called Love Everyone. And it was a lovely book about this group of people who studied with a great teacher in India. And I loved the book. And so I called the author. I wrote to the author because I found that her address was someplace in West Palm Beach, which is, of course, local for us. And we became friends, actually, after that. And she led me to the last interview of the book, which was with someone named Ramdas. I don't know how many of your audience know. But Ramdas, as he just passed, who was a very famous spiritual teacher. And I thought some interesting comments came out of that, especially his connection and disconnection from Judaism.
Yes, and so you see, that's a lot of things in your book were a little bit confusing to me because I guess you weren't really into Judaism so much at the beginning.
No, I came from, I'm a product of the 60s. I came through the post-Holocaust era. And most of my family was very disinterested in religion. And I was too, for that matter. I started out in the financial world, in the banking world. I have an MBA. And through a long process, a lot of things were happening in my life as a young man. And some good, some not so good, some deaths, some new friends who were spiritually involved and explorers. And I became interested and started to wonder about, is this all there is in life? The fact that you know, I was working my way up the ladder in the financial world, the banking world, and I saw a lot of unhappy people who were at the pinnacle of success. And so I started to ask myself some of the deeper questions in life. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this all about? And at a relatively young age, I was 28, I decided that it's time to go out and to explore all that one way or another.
Well, that's That was interesting, but you really traveled all over the world. You were on a search. I mean, that's why the spiritual warrior was a perfect name, American spiritual warrior, because it wasn't easy for you to do this. I mean, you had to travel to places, the unknown places, and really open your mind. But it looks like you came out a winner.
Well, I was very fortunate. I feel that call it God, call it the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, call it pure luck. I was very fortunate in my journey and how it all unfolded. And like a lot of things in life, I do believe in my heart that there are bigger plans if we follow the plan. Most of us don't follow our personal grand plan, but if we follow it, we will be okay. You know, we will definitely find some of the answers in life that we are seeking. But you have to be willing to. You have to be willing to take the risk and dive into that exploration.
Yeah, and where we see American spiritual warrior, I could add the word explorer.
Yeah. Well, I think the word American is really important in this book because, and this gets into multi layers of discussion. Because first of all, the whole idea of spiritual exploration seems to be an emphasis in the East that most Americans are uncomfortable with. And there are subgroups in this country who have become very interested in Eastern spirituality because they haven't been able to find the answers in Western culture, in Western civilization, and in Western religion. And I went ahead and one of the things that I feel strongly about is that I learned that you can do this in the West as well as the East. The East doesn't have a patent on spiritual exploration or awakening self-realization. We can do it right here, and we can do it through our own traditions if we are serious about it.
Well, you have done that. And I want you to jump fast forward to your glossary. Boy, did I learn a lot from your glossary. Wow, that was very, very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was terrific. I have to tell you that I did learn, as I said, so much, and it was absolutely astonishing. The things I didn't know, I couldn't repeat. Couldn't even pronounce some of the words. But it showed that you really did your homework. But you certainly were. It seems you did this with great. What's the word? Enthusiasm and passion. That's what you had. You had a lot of passion, didn't you?
Yeah, thank you. I think passion is the word that I resonate with. I was very passionate about this, and I was determined, to put my life on the line, frankly speaking, in order to find out what you might call some of the secrets or the keys to spiritual awakening. As you mentioned earlier, I've studied with Eastern teachers, but I also studied with great rabbis also, who had profound influence in my life. And it was actually through my exploration with rabbis that I learned things that I didn't learn through the Eastern experience. And a lot of that is in the book. And I spent 2 years in Israel, as you know, reading the book. And a lot of amazing things happened there as well.
I was curious, when you were working on this, were your parents alive? I don't remember that in the book.
My mother, I believe I did respond to that. My father was not a strong influence in my life, and he died after my mother died. My mother, I was about 33, I think. My mother got very sick, and I spent time with her in New York. And she was 63 only at the time, and really, it was a very tragic experience. But I did get a chance to spend time with her right before she died, and she had cancer, and then they thought she had a recurrence of cancer, and it turned out it was tuberculosis, and they didn't know that, and it was very complicated, difficult time for me in my life. But she died when I was about 33.
And I don't want to miss out on something, that someone whom you love so much is your son, Gavi. I mean,
yes.
You really have quite a relationship with him, don't you?
We still do. We have a great relationship. He's 35 now. He's he was a bit of a handful in high school, and he was very excited about music and learning, rock and jazz and all those kinds of things. And his mother and I were divorcing when he was about 15. So it was a very tumultuous time. But then I thought he was going to come close to flunking out of high school. But then he came around, and he became very serious about music and learning. And he went to college, and he graduated FIU in Miami, Florida International University School of Music, magna cum laude. And so he proved to me, and for all those parents out there that are struggling, or grandparents that are struggling with their children or their grandchildren, never give up on your kids, because they will amaze you if you remain supportive and caring to them in an honest kind of way. He went from nearly flunking out of high school to graduating at the top of his class. And now he lives in New York, although he's hiding out in New Jersey at the moment with COVID-19.
Right.
But he's a successful musician, and he's a great son.
And that's been a joy of your life. I know I felt that in your chapter on him and all that. But let's get back now to this. So let's just, I guess my question is your 4 keys to spiritual enlightenment. I know it takes a long time to do it, but why don't you give us some highlights from that? Because they were really, as pardon the expression, enlightening.
Well, it's very hard to, just rattle off 4 words and say that's
right.
It. So, because you have to understand by reading the book how involved these 4 issues are. But I'll say one thing that I think is important that I'm sure will provoke or evoke a lot of controversy for people. We are really good at self-censoring as individuals. We're very meticulous about what we say, what we don't say, how we say it, when we say it, who we should say it to. And because we don't uncensor ourselves, we frankly miss a lot of understanding about what we're feeling and what our understanding is. It can't be all processed mentally. Life, intellect has value, but we lose our sense of our heart and our feelings and emotions, and we basically censor our emotions and our feelings in order to censor ourselves and decide mentally what we're going to say, what we're not going to say, and how we're going to say it. Now, I know that's controversial, but I think in my tradition, for example, I think this is a big problem as to why many young people have turned away from Judaism, because the spirit of it, the emotion of it, the feeling of it, has given way in large part to the intellect of it. In fact, in Judaism, and I'm sure this is true in other traditions, in many prayer books, when you translate the Hebrew to English, we substitute the word mind for heart, and this is a very important issue for, I think, many people in the spiritual journey. We're afraid to say what we feel because we're afraid of the consequences of it. And I have to admit, there are risks involved. There are many risks involved, and but I think we should take more time to be less concerned about censoring ourselves, and more time to speak our heart, our true hearts. I love that.
I love that. No, I think you're, and many men can't do that. I mean, I hate to say this, women have an easier time, don't they, than men?
I agree with that, actually. I don't agree with that in total, but I do agree with that because, I've worked in the VA for many years as a counselor, chaplain, spiritual counselor, and what's evident to me is many men have this model, in particular, that we don't show emotions or feelings, and somehow that this has crept into our society, or actually many societies, and there's no evidence to support any value in that at all. It's a matter of appearance, it's a matter of ego, it's a matter of social expectations. But if you go back biblically, if you want to use biblical models, I can think of many situations where the great teachers would cry and cry openly. So this is really a misdirected model for men, unfortunately, in our society. I think we're overcoming it to some degree. We're doing better at it, but men have this issue, and actually some women have this issue too. But I would say it's more of a male problem than a female problem.
Well, I have to, thank you. I do respect what you say, and I'm so glad that you wrote this book and that you're doing this show. And for everyone to know, we will have another show in May with Dr. Grodsky, too. And I just wanted to, it was interesting that you said this is on your cover, the extraordinary self-realization journey of an ordinary guy.
Yeah.
Now, that was a very interesting word, that you would say that. Do you feel ordinary?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. But I think what I was really referring to is where I came from and what I came out of. I grew up in the Bronx. I went to high school. I went to Taft High School in the Bronx, and I was a good student. I wasn't a great student. I had no, in my mind, particular gifts, and but I worked in school. I played sports like a lot of other kids. I was on the track team, but I didn't excel in any shape, manner, or form. And I went on to college. The first few years were a little rough, and then I got through undergrad school, and then I went to work during the day, went to school at night, for my master's and my MBA. And so in many ways, I don't see my life as, being extraordinary, or at least my younger years. And so And so what might be extraordinary is that I had the passion and the will to look at my life and say something doesn't feel whole, something doesn't feel complete, and something doesn't feel real. And in my heart, that feeling began to grow. So little by little, I think the way it started out where I had, as I said, some friends who were very serious about their spiritual exploration, and they lived up. Some of them lived up in Woodstock, New York, and I had an ex-girlfriend who had died in a car accident, and these things, as my childhood, had an influence on me, and more I began to reflect on what was important and what isn't important in the greater scheme of things. And so ultimately, I left my career, and I went up to Woodstock for a short while, stay with some friends, and then it began to dawn on me that I needed a little bit more in the way of guidance in the spiritual path. So, and I did take some classes in Kundalini yoga at the time. So I was doing yoga when people looked at you and said, "You must be crazy. You're a weird guy." This was not mainstream stuff as it is today. Now there's a yoga center on every other corner. But when I started, it was not a commercial enterprise. It was leave a donation and take the class if you care to. And so I went out. So anyway, I went from Woodstock to California, and California, a lot of different places. But that's how it really evolved. It was one step at a time. But you have to have the will and the passion to take the risks to be willing to make the change in your life. Then most of us feel we need in some shape, manner, or form anyway.
Sure. I want everyone to know you've been listening to this. It's just incredible, gentlemen. Rabbi Yosef Grodsky, he is the author of Our American Spiritual Warrior, and he's so special. And he just, especially the fact that he just didn't grow up becoming a rabbi. He grew up questioning so many things, and he traveled all over, and now he decided that he really wants to be a rabbi. But I think you're a unique rabbi. I don't know you other than talking on the phone and now on the radio, but that comes across to me. Is that true?
Well, let me say this: we are all unique. We're all special in our own way. And some of the things I've done are probably unique in the sense that most people have not done them in terms of their spiritual explorations. But actually, let me say this, that more people that I meet have had incredible spiritual experiences. What happens, and often people don't like to talk about them. And so I've known doctors who've had incredible experiences, psychiatrists, ordinary cooks, working people, people who served in the military. And what I find is that they're isolated, they're orphaned enough, and they don't have somebody to reinforce the fact that this is a good thing. This is something that you can share with people. This is wonderful. This is special in your own way. And not to see it as a singular experience, but to see it as a message to continue on the journey towards awakening and enlightenment and self-realization.
That's very well thought out. Now, I want everyone to buy your book, so we have to tell them, can they just go to Amazon and look up American Spiritual Warrior and
Yes,
Rabbi Grodsky? Let's do it. That's easy. Is that okay?
If they go to the search engine on Amazon and type in American Spiritual Warrior, they will find the book. Or they can type in Rabbi Yosef Aryeh Grodsky, but it might be easier just to type in American Spiritual Warrior. Yes.
I think that people should do this, especially now. People are at home. They have a chance to be quiet, and they have a chance to enhance their lives. I think they'll sit there, and especially now that they've heard you on the radio, that you're a real person, and that they're right. And you've done so many things, and you were so. What I loved about this, you were so open and so honest and so down to earth. And I think I mean, it's like, I'll just say this, like you were spilling your guts in a way. but that's I hope rather than looking at this as some kind of narcissistic exercise, people look at the book as inspirational and help them find the courage to open up about their own lives too, because many people have many amazing things to say about their personal lives. Right. I agree with you. I think they will. They have to buy it. American Spiritual Warrior. We will have Dr. Grodsky back this next month, but I just hope people will do that. He's really special, and if you're I guess you work up at the VA in West Palm Beach?
That's what I do professionally, yes.
Yep, professionally. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate your taking the time, and I'll talk to you again, Rabbi, sorry. Really, it's been a pleasure being with you.
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure for myself as well.
Okay. We'll talk again. All right, bye.